Missouri and all over the Midwest and with the Outlaws and several organizations. This one has a big block Ford in it, Dave, and I know you love that, but look at the name on the truck, and that's why they named it this, is because they are running a big block Ford.
All right, now you want to keep an eye on this run. This guy has got a lock on the rock if he can do halfway good. This guy can get a lock on the rock if he can do halfway good. You heard the story that Ron was telling you about the black sheep of the family, Warsaw, Missouri. Not a very good 150 foot, but the last 150 foot was awesome.
All torque. They're a proud sponsor of the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Association. DeKalb brand, never settle. Check them out at DeKalb.com. Next puller on the two-wheel drive side, David Jeems out of Warsaw, Missouri, the black sheep of the family. Big block Ford coming off a win last night in Concord, Nebraska. Ford, where's the Ford people at? Chevrolet, everything Chevrolet. They've pulled for years. Everything's always been Chevrolet powered until this machine. They're running a big block Ford, 2 carburetors on it, with a big EX 514 cast iron cylinder head, an aftermarket big block Ford cylinder head. Calls it the black sheep of the family, the only Ford in the family. Pretty stout runner down there in central Missouri, down there with the Missouri State Tractor Pullers Association. Oh, where's my Ford people at? Ford people, make some noise. Welcome, everybody. It's Tuesday night once again. Ron Stone, Outlawed Live with Ron Stone. And tonight we're going to bring him on here. There we go. There's Mike Idle going to help me out tonight. Mike Idle from Bevier, Missouri is how I like to pronounce it.
Hey, that works for me, Ron. How are you doing tonight?
Good, buddy. Parlez-vous français?
Something like that, if you say so.
Tuesday night already. First Tuesday of December. Wow, we are that close to the end of the year, man. Crazy. We've got the David Jeems on tonight, the driver of the black sheep of the family out of Warsaw, Missouri. That's the modified two-wheel drive. Now, folks, don't get confused with what I call the super modified two-wheel drive. We, in the internal circles of the Outlaws, we refer to this class as the NA class. The naturally aspirated class is what that stands for. I mean, there's no blowers or turbos. It's just carburetors or fuel injection or both. So I like to call it the modified, and then the blower trucks, I like to call them the super modified. So it's all marketability. I don't like calling it the NA class because a lot of people don't know what that means. So I assume you knew what it meant, Mike.
Yep.
But,
Yep. Oh yeah. So the and this is a class that you don't see a whole lot of outside of the Outlaws or maybe like Missouri State Tractor Pullers Association. But NA, think of that as like your 4-wheel drive trucks. You're not going to be running any forced air through there. Is there a cubic inch limit in the modified two-wheel drive truck class. And
540 cubic inch is pretty standard in our part of the world. The Missouri State, the classes are similar. I think the rules are even a little closer now after the rules meeting last month at the banquet. So, that 540 is pretty much the rule of thumb around here for the naturally aspirated modified two-wheel drive class.
I liked looking at those videos, those highlights you had of David's truck as it was going down there, because most times when you see a fully exposed motor, you're either looking at a T-bucket or you're looking at, one of the tractor modified engines, and our eyes get very accustomed to seeing all the spark plugs lined up right on top. And with that one, as you like to highlight, with it being the black sheep of the family, being a Ford, no spark plugs on top. That's not going to be a Hemi. So my eyes kind of had to adjust to that. It felt like something was missing, and I had to remind myself, nope, we're not running Hemis here. That's a big block Ford.
Right. No Hemis in the class, the modified two-wheel drive class. No hemispherical heads are allowed. So without further ado, what's going on in your life, man? Everything going all right?
We are 9.5 teaching days until Christmas break. Not that we're keeping close tabs on that. And you said that it's the first Tuesday of December, which is hard to believe that it's so late in the year, but that's getting us one day closer to the Outlaw 2024 season. So that's how I'm just kind of ticking them off 1 week at a time. I'm excited for it.
Great. Yeah, it's crazy. The first I'm headed out Thursday night to the first Fairs and Festivals convention in Iowa this weekend. We do the Iowa convention, the Nebraska convention, Missouri and Kansas for the most part. We'd do one in Oklahoma if they had one, but Oklahoma doesn't have one. Texas does, but it's way down there in Galveston. So that's already starting. A lot of them in January, one of them in February. PRI convention is this weekend, starting Thursday, which Jason Schultz, which that's where he's at right now, is preparing for that, which it's a big deal. I mean, performance racing industry. Mike, if you've never been to that, I would suggest you go to that at some point. You can buy tickets and go to that. If you're a gearhead, man, you'll just be in hog heaven there.
It was something that I was only vaguely aware of before I started getting much more involved in social media and the racing industry. It looks like truck and tractor pulling is going, and I'm just trying to gather on the fly, but it looks like at PRI this year, truck and tractor pulling is putting kind of a bigger stamp on their turf than maybe they typically do, or they're representing themselves more bold. It seems like there's more trucks and tractors at PRI this year, or people are talking about it more.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I went in 2019, right before COVID hit. And it was a lot of drag racing. All forms of motorsports were represented. Spark plug manufacturers and turbo manufacturers and oil companies, tire companies, clutches and torque converters. And everything you can imagine was there and represented. Your street outlaws were there. You had NHRA there. There were some NTPA and other pulling organizations represented there as far as pullers, and the products like X turbochargers had a tractor, in their booth. And I heard there was actually more there inside the Lucas Oil field there. But
how does it compare in size? How does it compare in size to the farm show? Like, just as the magnitude and scale of all the vendors and booths and setup and stuff.
I'm going to guess that the PRI floor space is probably more.
Wow.
Probably more. I could be wrong, but I walked them both. And I know I walked for 2 days straight at PRI the first time I went, and I never made it into the arena itself. And of course I stop and like to talk, it's what gearheads do. Bench race and such, but I didn't get to see everything, and I heard there were some more pulling tractors and things represented. But no, the pulling did have a footprint there. I saw at least two-wheel drives. The Canes were there. They have Polar Air and Eaton compressors, and they had a couple of booths there. And Apex Turbo had a booth. So offhand, those are the ones I can remember actually seeing. But I heard there were some mini rods and other stuff down the arena floor.
Cool.
No, it's really cool. It's really cool.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm kind of jealous that I didn't get to go this year because
I think it'd be a neat place because it seems like tractor pulling and drag racing. I get accused of accidentally being a circle track fan. People call me a NASCAR fan, which I'm really not. But it seems like tractor pulling has always kind of been like drag racing's cousin. It seems like a lot of what you see in the blower technology, a lot of your mini rods and your funny cars almost overlap. And even going back to the 70s and 80s, it seems like a lot of ideas that maybe started in NHRA and other drag racing spots, you would see them transitioning and making their way into tractor pulling, and even vice versa. So any place like that where you can get people together and start kind of looking at each other's, toolboxes and saying, what are you guys doing in that sport over there? There's going to be some heads together this weekend. So that's going to be neat for everyone involved.
Yeah, it's a really cool show. I just going through some of the comments already, folks checking in. Michael Perry out of Missouri checking in. Jerome.
I'll let you do the last name. We'll get the first name, Ron. You get the last name.
Let's see. That's Kurtzadina. That's what I'm going with for now.
Love it.
Jerome, let us know if that's correct. Robert Miner checking in from Niobrara, Nebraska. Dallas Todd watching from Scotts Bluff. And of course, our buddy Eric Claypool checking in from Macon, Missouri. So, I was just going to do one thing here for all of our fans and watchers from Wisconsin. So this is the real reason. This is the real reason Jason Schultz is not on the show tonight. That's what I was thinking.
This is the real reason. We said, you know what? Nope. You just said we'll put another Chiefs fan on here. We talk about PRI. We won't talk about
those refs, Mike. What do you think?
We talked about PRI. We won't talk about DPI. We won't talk about defensive pass interference because there was a big no call at the end of that game.
The very end call, and I don't want to talk about football a whole lot on here because this is about pulling, of course, or the show. But the last call, even that could have went either way because I don't know if it was catchable for Kelsey. He was way in front of the ball. Not sure he could catch it, but the one long ball to Valdez-Scantling, I mean, he literally, he attacked him before the ball got there. And there were some other calls in the game that were, Anyway, it's, we live to play another day, and we'll see him down the road. So back to pulling here. Michelle John's watching from Warsaw, Missouri. Probably a David James fan there.
No.
Harrison Lane and Jamie Yonke checking in from Lincoln, Nebraska. Jamie Yonke had a great season this year. Watch out for that international in 24. Brandon and Sarah Butler checking in from Missouri. James Raska checking in from Iowa. Go Iowa, going to take on the Michigan Wolverines. That'll be a tough one there. I get my Iowa teams mixed up. It's the Iowa Hawkeyes, right?
Yep, they played Michigan in the Big Ten championship last weekend.
That'd be rough. Checking in Cole Lundahl checking in from Wakefield, Nebraska. Kyle Pedley checking in from Ocheeden, Iowa. Ocheeden. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring David James on here. David, can you hear us?
Yep, I've got you, Ron.
All right, buddy. I'm here with Mike Idle. Mike is one of our announcers and with the Outlaws. Did a couple shows this year and did one show with me actually at Wisner, Thunder by the River. And he's a fellow Missourian there. I don't think he's too far from you. Where is it Buer? Is that how you
Buer? Yep, just Buer. We were known for our famous restaurant years ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where that's at. How far from Truman Lake are you?
Well, all my buddies, that's where they go down to go snagging every year. I think we're about 2 hours straight north. So if you've ever snagged a spoonbill, I'm sure you know all about that.
Oh, yes. A lot of work.
So
that's what they tell me.
So David, you were a rookie this year. And how did this come about? I mean, I've known about the Black Sheep of the Family for a long time because I used to announce for the Missouri Tractor Pullers Association.
Right.
Missouri State Tractor Pullers Association.
Uh-huh.
And it was kind of cool to see the truck come up and start pulling with the Outlaws this year. But I didn't know who you were until I came and introduced myself to you. But tell us the story, how you got the driving job for this truck.
Well, Jerry Kreisel, the owner of the truck, I've been involved in stock car racing for 20 plus years. And Jerry came to me looking for someone to help maintain the truck. And I mechanic for him, check the engine, general maintenance. And the driver he had been driving for Jerry for 25 years or so, and he was looking to retire. And Jerry asked me if I'd be interested, and I jumped at the chance. It's an awesome feel, and especially with the Outlaws, the cream of the crop, best guys. When you say Outlaws, everybody knows those are the guys. If you want to do good, they're the best competition going. So
well, appreciate that. Now, you'd never driven a pulling truck or a
I
tractor?
had never driven a pulling truck before, and I made some mistakes this year. It's a definite learning curve, but boy, what a lucky year.
Look, I don't know if I'd call it all luck, Dave. I just want to read some of the stats here. I know you started off, I think, let's see, your first hook would have been what, Manila? Is that right?
Actually, I pulled with the Heartland Series at Haywarden.
Okay. This year, let's see. I'm just reading off of my stats sheet here. Actually, I'm reading my script from the. I got the wrong class there. That's the super modified. You never finished lower than fourth all season. Out of 11 hooks, your worst finish was fourth.
Yeah.
7 wins. So there was only 4 that you didn't win, and you finished in the top 3 10 times. So not too shabby for a rookie there.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I can't say enough for the truck. My job was easy. The truck is very competitive, and I got the fun of the ride. The truck doing the work. I just got the enjoyment of sitting behind the wheel.
So, David, as a driver, and did you say tell me again, how long have you been driving two-wheel drive pulling trucks?
This is my first year.
Okay, perfect. So this is a question I want to know. And you said you've done some circle track racing before.
Yeah.
How much, especially in that first half of the season when you're driving that two-wheel drive truck, how much are you looking at? Are you a man who looks at gauges and tachometer and data, or are you feeling it in the seat of your pants, and are you just kind of feeling that clutch, feeling that throttle, waiting it to hook, and you're just using that in kind of that old school, letting it hook, letting it go kind of driving?
That's exactly. I'm old school 100%. You can feel the traction, like you said, in the seat of your pants, and just waiting to open that throttle.
And then kind of listening to the motor and getting that feedback along with it. And how quickly during a run do you know when it's going to be biting and when you're going to have a hold of that track?
Well, fortunately, we had some very good tracks this year and helped me quite a bit. Usually by 25 to 30 feet, I've got her wide open.
That's awesome.
They were a few looser tracks. I had some trouble with that, learning the feel, and I got real goosey actually wanting to open it too soon. Mm-hmm. And you can spin the tires pretty easily. But like say, the feel in the seat of your pants, that's what you got to go with, and listening to that motor for the RPM spike. Mm-hmm. And I haven't quite got that soft touch yet. It'll take me a while to learn that, but good tracks sure helped a lot.
Yeah, that is there any track this season where you guys felt like, I say you guys, you and Jerry, you guys working as a team this year, Jerry Chrysler.
Yeah.
Was there any track this year you guys felt like, ooh, we missed the setup on that one?
Oh, absolutely. Pawnee City. I was out to lunch on that track. It was probably 100 foot before I ever could get in the throttle. The track was fairly wet and just could not get a hold of the track.
Mhm.
The weighting didn't quite have the weight set on the truck. You know, you could go back and do it again. A couple 100 pounds from the front to the back would have helped immensely. But that's something I've learned from Jerry over the year on our weighting, and having his experience of, I don't know, 34 or 5 years he's been doing the two-wheel drives. That has helped a lot.
Yeah, those guys, Jerry and his son Philip, they've been around pulling a long time.
Oh yes,
seen a lot of combinations, knows what works and knows what doesn't.
I've got input from Philip several times. He'd be at the same track we were, and his experience has helped a lot. And then we also ran with Missouri State this year, and the Danny Teeter, the other driver for Missouri State, has helped me quite a bit also. And I've watched him and see how he drives and how hard he rides the clutch to get it hooked up. And it helped me a lot.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that another two-wheel drive down around the Sedalia area might be coming up to pull with us some next year.
Yeah, I've also heard that rumor.
Yeah.
And I would say he will be there. I'm not going to mention who it is.
Pretty stout truck.
He will be very tough. Absolutely.
I'm just saying, you know what, Danny, you better be on your A game and, cowboy up, buddy. It's
yes.
Yeah, that's the thing about coming out on top, is now you're the bullseye man for next year. You've got that big red dot on the back of your helmet. For
I
sure.
feel the bullseye right now. I have made some very good friends with the Outlaws, and they're all gunning for me. And I look forward to the competition. And hey, when one of them beats me, I'll be the first man there to shake their hand and congratulate them.
That's what it's all about. Austin Flute, one of our regular watchers on Tuesday nights here, says he was at Hayward and said you had a great pass, said it was very fast, if he remembers correctly. Do you remember that event?
Yeah. I didn't win that night. I believe the hot iron truck won that night, but I think I had a 29 mile an hour pass.
Okay.
The track wasn't as good as some of the others, and I spun out, didn't power out, spun out, and I was short a little. But Mark, the driver of the hot iron truck, he's one of the guys that I've met and got to know, and a very hard competitor.
Yeah, there's some good ones in there. There's some good
ones.
Oh,
absolutely. And from the first of the season to the end of the season, the trucks were all right there nipping at my heels, and I'll definitely expect to see, several of those trucks beating me this year. I'm positive. I know I'll be doing everything to the truck to improve, and I expect everyone else will be. I'm looking for a very exciting 24 season.
Awesome. Andrew Sprock, a fellow Missourian there and a two-wheel drive puller. He's comments said they're glad to see the two-wheel drive modified class getting bigger in the Outlaws. And yeah, I mean, there was more than once this year, there was more than 20 trucks in that class.
It's a very big growing class. And, with that many trucks, anyone can have their night. And it was just a very good year for me. Probably can never repeat the number of wins, but very, very fun season. and look forward to the new year.
Yeah. Now, tell us a little bit about are you a Ford guy or a Chevy guy?
Actually, I was a Ford tech at a
Okay.
local dealership for several years, and I've always drove Fords, but I've raced Chevrolets.
Okay.
And it's a simple matter of Chevrolets are cheaper to build.
Okay.
But when it comes down to the horsepower, them Fords are tough. Yeah, they're just.
This is fun too. So I'm gonna have a little fun with all the names of this too. Your stablemates, your partners are and if you kind of put a little pizzazz on how you say it, they're the Chrysler family. Who are
Chrysler. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's kind of like a Z in there.
But if you just twist it, you've got Chryslers, which they all run Chevys.
Yeah.
And then you've got your Ford. So we're like
Ford.
the three flavors of ice cream. The Chrysler family running their Chevys. And then, of course, the black sheep of that family running that big block Ford.
Yeah. Several years ago, Jerry ran Chevrolets, and there was a local truck that he just could not catch. And they were running a Ford engine, and he said, if I'm going to beat them, I've got to go to a Ford. And it's been very good for us.
Well, those heads are good heads. I mean, by all means, they're not the best Ford heads out there, but they're a good, as far as cast iron heads go, I don't think you could beat them.
I think they're about as good a cast iron Ford head as you can get. You can get aluminum Ford heads that are better, that'll flow more. With Missouri State, they have a rule that you could do about anything you want to a head as long as it was cast. And that's why we run cast heads, is to compete with Missouri State. And, after looking at the rules for the Outlaws, our truck appeared to match the rules very closely. Just a couple of minor things we had to do. But the Ford heads, them cast heads, they just perform very well.
Now, I've talked to Jerry in the past, and I can remember a conversation I had with him when I was announcing for Missouri State several years ago about the induction on that truck. And it has carburetors, but yet it's fuel injected. So
yeah, it's a little different. It's a little different. It is alcohol injected. The carburetors, at one time, Jerry could run gas or alcohol. And he thinks the alcohol works better. It definitely does a good job for us. It runs a lot cooler, and running a dry block, it sure helps maneuvering around in the pit area and stuff. But it's different. No one else is running that combination.
Yeah, I think what he had told me, what I recall, is simply the carburetors were there to meter the air.
That's all
they were there for.
Yeah, and with two carburetors, you basically got one butterfly for each cylinder. And, of course, most of the time it's wide open anyway. Mm-hmm. So, but it does work very well.
Got shout out to Marty Samuelson tuning in. Said he almost forgot it was Tuesday here halfway through the show, Marty. Shame on you. Joshua Morrow checking in from upstate New York. We've got California watching on here as well. So a lot of folks tuning in. We're talking to David Jeames from Warsaw, Missouri, modified two-wheel drive points champion this 2023 season. Any questions you might have for David, go ahead and pass them along, and we'll ask David. I think, can you see the questions on the screen, David?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
Okay. Or the comments and questions. So there might be some questions here for you, but I'll let Mike. Mike looks like he's got a question for you.
Oh, I'm always loaded with a question. I can always talk, Ron. Hey, David, on your 23 season, and I didn't really dive full in until about midway through the season this year. Mm-hmm. I am going back and watching as many polls as I can. Outlawpulling.tv lets you do that. But did you take the lead? Did you grab a hold of that points lead pretty early on and just kind of maintain it through, or did you have to, do some fighting and clawing to get there? Kind of walk us through when you found yourself on that top spot and what it took to stay there on the back half of the season?
I think it was about the fourth pull. I took the lead, and it was pretty tough, but we just continued to try to be in the top 3 or 4 every week, and just maintained. The dirt truck, he was right on my heels the whole season. And he has a very, very competitive truck. And I expected it to be a lot closer at the end, but I had some fortunate nights, and he had a few nights that he finished like third, and that helped me quite a bit.
Sure. Was there a specific pull where you felt like you could kind of breathe, like maybe you just, widen that gap just enough where kind of that monkey was off the back, or just?
No, I tell you, it was our last hook at Nebraska, and really all I needed to do was move the sled, but I still give it all it had. Sure. And because you never know what can happen. And I could have had something break and finished last, and I'd have to look at the numbers for sure, but I think he could have beat me if I'd have finished last.
Oh, okay. What would that have been at Ron, help me out. Would that have been like at the state fair?
Yeah, that was the Nebraska State
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's fun for the fans. It's fun for announcers too, when it comes down to the wire on some of those events.
Mm-hmm.
When we went down to Texas for our last pull, 2 of the glasses were like that. I mean, they were right down to the wire, which that's always fun. Adds some suspense to the mix.
It got real fun this year with the Outlaws too, because it looked like there were some rookies who late in the season, if you'd have given them, and I don't know what the points look like early on, but if you'd have given them 3, 4, 5 more hooks, I'm thinking of some of the light modified guys. We had some of those guys finishing hard at the end of the year, and it's like, I wonder what would have happened if they kept that momentum going. So,
yeah, hard telling. I wonder. Marty Samuelson's curious if anybody's got their letters from Louisville. I haven't heard anything yet, Marty, but we'll definitely pass that information along when it's available to us. Randall Carnegie from Kansas checking in. Robert Miner asking, would you put a blower on it and go to the next class up if you have the opportunity?
Probably not. This class, there's so many trucks in this class. It's such good competition. I would stay in the naturally aspirated class.
Yeah. I mean, it's a competitive class.
If I had the opportunity to drive a blower truck, would I do it? Oh, absolutely. Those things are crazy horsepower. Mm-hmm. And I'd do that. But as far as changing our truck, I don't think I could ever get Jerry to do that.
Randall Carnegie checking in says, you're a great friend and glad you're doing well.
Known him most of my life, and nice guy, super nice guy.
Brandon and Sarah Butler saying, great job, Uncle David.
Yeah. So my nephew.
Let's put our eyes on a couple of these runs here. Let's go to Friday night in.
Bennett knows the Chrysler family very well. They pulled Chevrolet 4-wheel drives forever in the state of Missouri and all over the Midwest and with the Outlaws and several organizations. This one has a big block Ford in it, Dave, and I know you love that, but look at the name on the truck, and that's why they named it this, is because they are running a big block Ford.
All right, now you want to keep an eye on this run. This guy has got a lock on the rock if he can do halfway good. This guy can get a lock on the rock if he can do halfway good. You heard the story that Ron was telling you about the black sheep of the family, Warsaw, Missouri. Not a very good 150 foot, but the last 150 foot was awesome.
All torque.
And
watching that now, that was actually Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Meant to play Friday, but you guys were almost a gear too high there, it seemed like, David. I mean, you hear it, you see those back tires, you hear the motor was turning a little bit, and the back tires weren't really moving a whole lot.
Yeah. We could have used a little more gear.
But it worked. It worked.
It worked. It worked. I was a little light on the weight on the front end. It got a little higher than we like to see. But the second half, it sat down and hooked up, and it was pulling hard.
Yeah, that's something to speak of too. Your rookie season, you go in there and win the Rock from Rock Valley. Pretty cool.
That was awesome weekend. That Rock Valley's like NASCAR. I never seen so many people and so many different trucks, and I don't know how many trailer trucks was there of pullers, but it was something to see, and to walk out of there with the Rock. I couldn't even imagine that happening.
Yeah, that's one you'll remember. That's one you'll remember. Where's the trophy? Is it at your place or Chrysler shop?
It's in my house. I get to rub on it a little bit. Jerry's got so many trophies over the years. He's letting me keep these this year, and I've got the Rock is sitting there by my new helmet, and pretty proud.
You're collecting a lot of hardware in a hurry. You're going to have to get yourself a display cabinet or some shelves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most memorable pull of the year?
Oh, Rock Valley, absolutely.
Rock
Valley.
Yeah. Let's see. Marty is asking, has David pulled at Ravenna or Gibbon? Well, I know you pulled at Gibbon.
Gibbon, not Ravenna, I don't believe. No.
And then who's this gal here? You know this gal here?
Yeah, it's my sister-in-law.
Says, good job, bro. Proud of your performance. So you got a lot of family watch tonight. That's cool.
Yeah. They've raced with me stock cars. I've done that for 20 plus years, and they followed me around and helped me with that over the years. So they're glad to see me do good in my later years.
How does the rush of truck and tractor pulling compare to being behind the wheel of stock car racing?
It's over too quick. I've had some pretty good cars and good motors over the years, but the horsepower that this truck puts out, feeling it in the seat of your pants, it's better than any drug you could ever take. I'll say that. I've said this, but to other people, it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
Now, David, I used to pull myself. I had a four-wheel drive pickup, but there's nothing to describe when you feel that hook or hit your hitch and you hit the end of that chain and pull the slack out. Boy, the adrenaline starts flowing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, I've set up one of those Ford motors actually with those EX514s. Had a buddy that pulled and had one of those. It was a 502 Ford, I think. Was stroked a little bit, and that's why I know so much about them, is because I did the research on those heads for my buddy and found them back in the year about mid 2000s. But yeah, they don't make those anymore. But
no, that's a shame. Those heads are very good, and if we have a catastrophe and damage one, I'm not sure what we'll do. We may have to go back to a Chevy motor.
There was a guy from Missouri State that Sprock, I think he was a Sprock that ran a Ford, and he had several sets of those at the time. But I remember talking to him at the pulls. I think he passed away of cancer there.
Yeah, he did. They're trying to get their puller truck back together. I think they're waiting on a crankshaft, and we might entice them to come pull with us.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
Yep.
The more the merrier. And you know what? I guess it's a Ford motor, but it's safe there at the Chrysler shop because it does have a little bit of Chevy in it. It's got the exhaust flange is
Or
big block
Chevrolet,
you know,
and Chevrolet valve covers. That's what makes it run so good.
Mhm.
Tim Sprock, Andrew said that's his uncle. Yep, I used to have a lot of conversations with Tim. Couldn't remember his first name, but
yeah, I've seen the Tea Time truck is the name of their truck.
Yep. Okay.
I've seen it pull several times. Very competitive truck. Can't wait to see them get it back together, and we'll for sure be pulling with Missouri State some this next year, and hopefully get to pull with them again.
Not sure who this is, if it's legit or not, but Michelle John's going to have to make some trips to the Outlaw shows for 24 just to watch. Well,
Yeah.
come on out and watch.
Yeah.
Andrew says Tea Time will be back next year. Awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let us know where you're planning on going, Andrew, with the Tea Time. That'd be cool to see it back out again.
Yeah. Yeah. Glad to hear that. I knew they were waiting on engine parts, and well, it'd be good to have them back with us. We're going to concentrate with you guys of the Outlaws this year, but I will be driving this year with the Missouri State Association some too.
Okay.
And I'll get the opportunity to pull with them for sure.
Good deal. Good deal.
Is there any indoor pulling opportunities for you guys? The Chryslers, I think, or the Chryslers, sorry about that, have pulled. They've pulled indoor some, I want to say.
Yeah, they have pulled in
Chevy inside before.
Yeah, they pulled Kansas City in 21 or 22. Fortunately, we won the class up there at the not Kemper Arena, but the Governor's Building or
Cowtown Showdown.
Cowtown Showdown. Yes, sir.
So
I know of it very well.
Yeah.
What about the black sheep of the family? Is it going to make its way to an indoor pull, or is that that class might be hard to find inside?
Well, I think the only place that we've pulled inside that I have been to was the Cowtown Showdown, and I was doing the maintenance then, and
Well, David, you know, I want to thank you for coming on tonight, and I want to give you an opportunity to say all your thank yous. If you got sponsors or anybody that's helped you, you've got some more family that's checking in here, Tom and Dusty McGovern. But yeah, give you an opportunity here to thank sponsors or folks that have helped you, what have you.
Well, I can't help. The first guy I got to thank is Jerry Kreisel. The opportunity to drive his truck has been more than fun. It's been a lifelong dream to have this kind of success. And the first year out, you know, I got to thank Jerry and the input from Danny and Danny Teeter and Bill Oversty, furnishing our fuel for the year and our engine oil. That's been a big help. And all the sponsors for Outlaws, the Coltrane Energy Drink. I want to thank those guys for being at the pools all year. Boy, you know, one of them nice and cold after a hook sure was nice.
We need to bring those to have them bring those to the winner's circle. Be like the milk at the Indy 500. Bring the Coltrane to the winner's circle.
They was many times that Jerry was standing there at the end of the track with me a Coltrane.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, David, thanks so much. Congratulations on your points championship this year. We look forward to seeing you beginning of the 2024 season, and just wish you nothing but luck, buddy.
Thanks, Ron. We hope to repeat, but it'll be tough. It'll be very competitive and be a lot of fun. That's for sure.
Thanks so much, David. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, David.
Bye-bye.
Good interview there. Good.
That was fun.
Enjoyed talking to him. Yeah, David James, driver of the black sheep of the family, modified two-wheel drive. And we're going to go from David to who is this guy? Who is this guy? What? George Beyer. George, what's happening?
Not much. Finally done pumping.
You look like you just came inside, though.
Yeah, it's been a long season. I told you I'd eventually come on when it was over with.
I know. I hope you haven't got upset with us or me.
I'll give you credit. You're persistent. I'll give you credit.
It's kind of been our running joke. I don't know if you ever watched. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel. He used to have. He always said he was going to have Matt Damon on, and he always run out of time for him at the end, and it was always kind of a running joke. So
yeah,
we kind of joke.
Informing me of that.
George, here's how much fun Ron's been having with this behind the scene. He messaged me about a month ago, and he said this was when you were in Racine, Ron, doing the Superfan experience. And he says, hey, Mike, can you cover for me tonight? Bring on a guest, whatever you want. He goes, but at about 5 minutes till the show's over, you have to say George Beyer is coming on. He goes, I've been setting that up for 2 months now. He goes, this is very important. You have to say that you ran out of time to bring George on the show. So I was like, you're gonna have to find a new punchline.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
Maybe we could try it again next week, I guess.
So George Beyer, limited pro stock champion this year, buddy. Congratulations.
Thanks.
We were just talking to David James. I mean, talking about how it wasn't easy. How hard is it to win the limited pro stock class on points championship?
It ain't easy. It ain't given to you. I'll tell you that much.
Some stats here on the season: 23 hooks. That's grueling. 3 wins in a row late in the season. 6 total wins, 16 top 5s. Pretty good, man. Pretty good. To what do you owe your success?
Maybe 103 dyno passes all summer, not counting the track. Probably had something to do with it.
Wow. Wow. So who does your engine work for you?
We do it ourselves between Joel Van Gelder, Dave and Kyle Pedley, and myself. We do it all ourselves.
Joel Van Gelder. That's one of the cooler names in pulling.
Well, it's actually Jeff. If I said Joel, that's his brother. That'd be full bore. But
yeah, I mean, it just kind of flows, when you say.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those cool names. Not that you don't have a cool name, George, but
it's just an old guy name, right?
Well, I don't know. It might, come back in fashion. You never know. But 23 hooks. How hard is that on a 4-1 tractor?
Very hard. Very hard to keep it living. Weekend to weekend's one thing, but when you start doing 3, 4, 5 day sweeps, it's hard on it.
So what
keep
was
it alive through it anyway?
Any major breakage this year to speak of that slowed you down a little bit?
We were fighting some fuel issues, but the weekend of Pierce and Wayne, we lost a pump in Pierce, and then we had a spare pump. But we fought some fueling issues. But Hart's, every time we had a problem, Brandon bring it down and we fixed it. Riverside Engine's been a big part of the success too. Anytime we call him with parts, he's always ships it out the next day. Everyone that's been part of the program has been really good to us on it. And owning our own dyno has probably been a huge part of it, where if you think you've got a problem or tractor don't seem right, you just go put it back on the dyno, and that's probably been a large part of it.
Kendall Helmers responded here and said that you've got plenty of money, so that's not a worry.
Stomp.
Oh, Kyle Pedley says, don't forget about the split block.
Do what?
Kyle Pedley said, don't forget about.
Oh, yeah, we did split a block.
That's not an easy one to forget. How would you?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
No. So we was on the dyno the week before Ravenna. This was the Wednesday before Ravenna weekend, and we split a block on the engine dyno.
Wow.
I was reading through the Outlawed rule book, trying to get as familiar as I could, and it's the 2023 rule book. I haven't seen, and I don't think it's available to all the amendments to the 2024 rule book yet. And there was a snag in there, and the block makes me think of this. Can you replace equipment unlimited throughout the year, or is there a certain point where something has to match at the beginning of the season and the end of the season? Is there any one thing that has to, or can it all? And I was almost thinking that I read something or I looked at something, and I'm not a mechanic by any definition, but the word block came to mind. But I mean, shoot, if you split a block, you just put a you go get another one, or you have another one and you put that in there. Nothing has to match from beginning to end.
No, not
It's
that.
cutting out really bad.
Okay.
No, not that I'm aware of. It
Okay.
just,
Mm-hmm.
there would be rules as far as 4-1. There's a cubic inch limit, and then they can't run like an aftermarket block.
But at no point do they consider a vehicle like now a second vehicle. It's old saying, like, if you break an axe and you replace the axe head, and then you break a handle and you replace the handle, do you have a whole new axe head? As long as you're just at no point is it considered something new.
No.
Mm-hmm.
George, are you still with us here?
I'm with you. There's like 5 guys out in the shop saying they can hear it. I couldn't hear it there for a minute.
Oh, gotcha. So you bring a crew with you to these pulls. How many people you bring with you?
Oh, there's probably 3 or 4 most of the time. There's Lance, Nathan, and there's always someone else floating around.
Yeah, Lance is, I think he's commenting here.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Russ Dostal wants to know, who's your stiffest competition? Who do you worry about beating every time? Is there one particular puller that makes you nervous?
Probably all of them. There ain't a 4-1 that can't win it. I mean, that class is tough. Draw. You get beat by the draw more than you do a tractor, I would say, 9 times out of 10.
Where's the perfect draw? Where do you want to hook in the 4-1 class? Where's the perfect spot for you guys?
Depends on the track. Could be first, could be last, could be third, eighth.
Yeah.
I figure if you could pull, it don't matter if you're pulling first, second, 5th, 10th, 20th. If you take first from your pull position, you couldn't have done anything different.
True. Yeah.
Couldn't do anything different.
Do you like hooking first? Some guys almost like hooking first, because, hey, that's almost a guaranteed 2 looks at a track right there. Or is first kind of that, there's a reason they let you look at it twice?
It really doesn't matter, I guess. If I feel it was a good pass, I'm going to keep it regardless. I'm probably not going to abuse the engine. Unless it was a fluke deal, I probably wouldn't abuse the engine that way anyway.
Okay. So you don't look at it as a guaranteed 2 looks at a track. If your setup is right and everything runs right, you're giving the flagman thumbs up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So what's on tap for 24? Just more of the same? Do you have any changes you're going to make to the tractor? Any improvements?
We're going to do a few things different. Probably shouldn't, but we're going to change a few things. Probably about the same program as last year.
So just a little experimentation. Is that what I'm hearing here?
It might be a little more than a little experimenting, but we're gonna try some stuff.
Okay. Russ Dostal's asking, what track is the toughest to read throughout the summer on the Outlaw circuit?
I don't know.
Any class that surprised you? You were like, wow, we got that wrong.
Macon, Missouri sticks out. I didn't get it wrong, but we were like 3rd or 4th hook. I think they were like 340. We went like 390 foot that night. We didn't. I was
gonna say. So Macon's my hometown pull, and I was loaded with that question. You put a monster pass down at Macon.
I don't know how. But perfect setup, I guess.
I've seen that track. If you're going to talk about tricky to read, I've been watching that track for 30 years, and arguably have seen 30 different tracks over there. There's something about Northeast Missouri between the humidity and the soil and the weather. That thing, I've seen that be a power track. I've seen that be a speed track. I mean, that one, but that night it was your track.
That was a fun pass, that's for sure.
Jamie
Yonke. You're fine.
Jamie Yonke's comment and said she recalls the night you put 300 feet on her.
That was Macon, Missouri. They broke their water pump at the line.
Now, Is there something you want to tell us here, George?
Me?
Kendall Helmer says you're Freedom Hall bound.
I don't know anything about it.
You haven't got anything in the mail yet?
We ain't seen nothing yet.
Now, you went last year, right?
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about that powdered donut, but yeah, I did go last year.
You know what? You just jogged my memory. I didn't even remember that. So
Yeah, I bet
you
I
were
jogged
safe.
it all right. I didn't forget. The picture's somewhere in here. I'm looking right at it. Actually, the background on my computer, I'm looking right at the jog line.
That's your motivator. You look at that, and that's what drives you every year.
Yeah. There better be sand on the weight bracket if I go this year.
So
yeah. Put it in a bottle.
Yeah.
Well, Harrison, he just answered the question there for us already before you even typed it in there. He went out of bounds at Louisville last year.
I used to like the Yankees and Harrison, but I don't know if I much care for him anymore.
Harrison knows, doesn't he? He's just is he rubbing it in a little bit there? Yeah.
Yeah, he could.
We have the power to make
But
him go away there, George.
Yeah.
So, if you had your choice, I mean, are you in the class you want to be in? I mean, you aspire to be a pro stock, or even modified or anything like that? Or are you happy?
Super.
I don't know. I enjoy the 4-1 class. The competition's good. I don't see any reason to move yet. I'm not saying I won't someday, but for now, I think I'll stick where I'm at.
I'm getting some comments here. I have a feeling this guy's right there in your shop, George.
Yeah, left turn. Yeah, we were just talking about that Louisville deal. See, they're not yeah. Whatever.
Maybe that's the changes he's making for 24 is a change in crew, a change in friends. These guys are giving him a hard time.
Friends and crew. I hear him laughing out in the shop.
Kendall has a good point, though. You made it to Louisville. A lot of people will never make it there, So even though you went out of bounds, you're still there representing.
It's an experience, that's for sure. Like we all said that. I mean, don't get me wrong, we was all upset, right? You go through all this work, you go out of bounds,
Sure.
but to stand there on the dirt in Freedom Hall, that's an experience. And the tunnel when you go down in, it's an experience.
And they had really awesome crowds this year too. I mean, I hope that
it was packed last year.
Yeah, I'm hoping that extends into this year. I think they may have set some records this year. There, the earlier nights, the weeknights, usually it just gets a little more crowded each night. And you got stuff in the middle of the week. But even those first couple nights, there was a lot of people in there. A lot.
That's I think Thursday and Friday night. I think they sold out this last one. I think it's something, that's for sure.
Is that something you look at when you're out there on the tractor? Do you look up there to see all the people? Does it never even?
I would say I'm more nervous at a tractor pull when I put my helmet on and I wait for it to start than when you go on the track. You don't notice all that. I'm more nervous to make sure the thing starts, drive up, and then when you're on the track, I don't notice any of that. Maybe I do, but I can sit here and say I don't feel like I do.
Kimmy says, what about all the awesome people at Agravision? They're always cheering you on.
A lot of our equipment comes from Agravision. They've been a little sponsorship on that whole deal too.
Good deal. Do you have any other sponsors that you want
to? Actually, Nathan's dad, Quicker Land and Cat or Land and Livestock, they've always pitched in and helped, and they've kind of the last couple of years kind of followed us around and been a big part of it too. David's good with the track. They used to pull back in the day also. But I mean, a lot of the stuff's been kind of just a group effort. I mean, I could sit here for an hour and name the people that have taken part and help in this whole thing.
Sure.
It's been a big group effort. Been a lot of fun doing it ourselves, but sometimes I wish it wasn't that way either. Just where you had one person to rely on and not 40 of them, trying to make it all work. But it's been a fun time.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh no, I'm just
Okay.
just
All right.
diving
You
in.
look like you had something you were going to,
Oh no,
burning
just,
question you were going to ask.
nope, just sitting on an old wooden chair. I need to bring an office chair in here. We gotta try to find the sweet spot from time to time.
So you tested out a backup driver this past summer. I mean, is that your official backup driver now, George?
Nathan?
Yeah.
Oh, and Spencer? Yeah, he should have ran it probably the year before. And actually, he was going to run it in Ravenna. In Ravenna, I was going to drive it the first night. He was going to drive it the Saturday night. Well, evidently got rained out. Then we went into Arlington, and it just once we decided we were going to chase points, then we never did it to the end again. But I think he got off there. He was pretty shaky the whole time when he got off that.
And well, he should be. I'd be shaking a little bit myself. But Maggie Meyer, Maggie Meyer said you've come a long way since making your first pass in Columbus.
Yep, that's Joey Meyer. I went to her husband. I went to school with. They got the Midnight Rider tractor in the 3200 class.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. There. That song always pops in my head when I announce that. She actually came up to me this season and said, "That's what we named it after. Was that song?"
Oh, really?
Midnight Rider. So every time I announce it, I have that song in my head the rest of the night. It's like,
Yeah, now it's stuck in my head. George, is this your first points championship with the Outlaws, or do you just have a room full of trophies stacked up and a bunch of helmets on the shelf?
This is only our third year pulling, and we took second in points last year, chasing Novak, and then first this year.
What'd you do? You said just your second year pulling, or did you say it's your third year?
Third year.
Okay, what'd you do your first year?
Went all over the planet, like 50-some hooks. You name it, we went to it. It didn't matter if it was a Tuesday night brush hook or a Friday night Wisner. It did not matter. We went to it.
If there was a pull to be found,
Yep,
you were heading to it.
Yep.
So how much of that seat time do you think is correlated to you winning this points championship just after pulling for 3 years? Is that kind of between that and the dyno? Is that your keys to success?
I would say.
Sure.
Seat time.
Yep.
That would be huge.
so George, you've been working all this after harvest, pretty much when you come in and do most of your work, right? At the end of harvest.
Yeah, I would say about a week after Wisner, first week of September, we started pumping manure, and then we got done last Saturday.
And that's your biggest sponsor, right? Is Buer Pumping?
I would say all of it, yeah.
And you support pulling other than just your tractor. I've seen Buer Pumping on some sponsor sheets for some pulls around. What pulls do you sponsor?
Rock Valley, which is only 35 minutes west of me. We sponsor the class there, sponsor the pull. And then we've always sponsored Wisner too.
Okay, very good. So, well, we're kind of past time, but Mike, if you got some more questions, go ahead. And
Oh man, I mean, I could talk track pulling all night. The one thing I'm not going to let him get out of here without talking to me about is I was describing my favorite tractors to my wife this summer, and I got a chance to vote for best appearing tractor this year. And I said, the one we're voting for, the one I got to vote for is Side Piece. And she says, well, Side Piece, is that like named after a gun or something? I'm like, yeah, the graphics on the side, it's it's kind of like your side piece, your carry piece. So when did we come up with the beautiful tractor graphics for your wonderfully appearing? And you did win. Did you win best appearing tractor this year? That's what I thought. So tell us a story on that.
I'm going to tell you something. That's a story for another glass there.
I love it, man. I love it. That's too cool.
I didn't talk to him about that before, George, so I wasn't sure.
You didn't bread him up on that?
I will tell you, the first time I saw you pull, when I was announcing a show and you pulled there, I hadn't seen the tractor up close yet. And when you first see that, that's what pops in your mind. But I also thought, well, it could be, a sidearm or something. So that's what I said. And when you went by me as I was in the announcer stand, I said, well, there went that idea. So
Ron, do you remember the old two-wheel drive truck called the Florida Cracker? Do you remember that from like the?
Oh yeah.
That's it. It had similar pulling style graphics on the side of it, I believe.
Yeah, it had a woman in a bathing suit, and I think maybe a white T-shirt. And,
Yeah.
Kevin Davis wanted to know if that was the problem in Wayne, was the pump.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Then we came back. We came back after the shootout and then pulled at the end. Way at the end. We come back way after the end of the shootout and made a pass on a spare pump.
Okay.
But yep, that was the problem.
Of course, Davis there at Wayne, Nebraska. Wayne's already on the schedule. They've got their contract in and ready to go for next year. So that date is on the schedule. So, well, George, I mean, if you got anybody you want to thank right now, you've got the floor. Anybody that, I know you don't want to leave anybody out, but I mean, you can go ahead and hit a few of them if you want.
Well, Weimer Fuel Injection, Hart's Diesel, Mayhill Tire Cutting. Justin Wagler's been a huge part of where we've gotten the last, probably in the short term, over advancing us to what we are today. Dave and Kyle Pedley been a big part of it. Jeff and Gelder. I mean, I could sit here for hours. I mean, everyone that's taken, even fellow pullers that have, hey, try this or do this or try that. I mean, it's been a good learning experience the last 3 years.
Have you ever been involved in any other motorsports besides tractor pulling?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Me and Nathan been going to Rock Valley for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. I don't know how long. And we always said, well, one day we're going to have one of them. And Nathan and I are like, yeah, we're never going to happen. And then we were pumping that spring. And I said to Nathan, I said, we have a really good spring. We're going to get one of these. No, we won't. No, we won't. So we're on pull off. The old Hampton hooker comes about. So then you start Googling or going on YouTube and watching the videos of the Hampton hooker in Ellsworth when she yeeted the engine out. Anyway, we got to talk with Craig Braun for a while. And we ended up, it was the middle of May, we ended up actually going to get it. And that's how that kind of all started. We said we'd have a good spring, we'd do it. And that's kind of how that went from there.
That tractor came out in what, New Hampshire?
No, New Hampton, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
So
okay.
that was Mike Whitney's ground force back in 2012, the Super Farm.
Okay.
And then he went 4-1. Then it got sold to Craig Braun, and then we bought it from Craig Braun.
Okay. I was thinking of a different tractor from up there in the Northeast.
It was the Hampton hooker, Hampton, Minnesota, I think, is where it came out of. But
gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Well, George, we're going to let you rest, buddy. You've had a long fall season. Enjoy the holidays and take it easy a little bit, bud.
All right, you too.
Congratulations on your championship this season, and we'll see you in February.
I hope so.
Good luck. Thanks, George.
Take care.
George Beyer, limited pro stock champion 2023 with the Outlaws. We finally got him on, man. Finally got him on. Now what are we going to joke about at the end of the show,
Well, evidently there was a little something about that side piece right there. We didn't have the backstage screening, but so yeah.
I apologize about that. I'll tell you about that.
Haven't seen the tractor in person, guys. It's just, aside from the graphics, it's a beautiful, beautiful tractor. It backs it up. Backs up. I like when tractors have the graphics, but then they can back it up on the track too, and that one certainly does. So
yeah, it's a good runner for sure. And in George's defense, we had fun with the situation where he wasn't able to make it on. He was busy. A lot of the places where he was pumping did not have good cell service because we did try a couple of times. And I know that area where he lives. I drove through there in September to go to a meeting up at Lake Okeechobee or Okeechobee. I can't remember what it's called up there in northern Iowa. And yeah, there's very little cell signal because I saw the town where he lives there, and I was like, "Oh, that's where George Beyer lives." And then it's like, "Yep, there's no cell signal." So confirmed. So, Mike, good show. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Anytime, Ron. I enjoyed doing it.
And huge thanks to David. I'm sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
You're good. Nope, pulling's fun.
Huge thanks to David James for coming on tonight. Great interview. We look forward to seeing him pull next summer as well as George Beyer. And of course, George, we got our fingers crossed. We think he might be a shoe-in at the National Farm Machinery Show and watch him go represent the Outlaws in February.
The Pullers Championship, he'll have an invite there, I assume, as well. That was one I.
You know what? Good point. Good point.
Mhm.
I haven't looked at that list, but I
imagine he'll get an invite to the Pullers Championship.
Are you going to go to that? You going to go to the Pullers Championship?
If I'm first of all as a fan, I'd love to go, and if there's anything I can do to help in between, I've kind of been in contact a lot with Jason, and Jason likes to dream up big ideas to put me to work. So, hey man, if I can find a pull that my wife lets me go to, which is just about all of them, I'm going to go to it.
Yeah, it's really not that far away from you either. I don't think.
It's like right at 4 hours.
4 hours. Okay.
It's like right out. It's on the other side of St. Louis. We're right up in Northeast Missouri. I'm 2 hours. I'm 2 hours on the nose from Arrowhead Stadium, and I'm 3 hours on the nose to Busch Stadium, and then Nashville, Illinois is like just on the other side of St. Louis.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I didn't think you were that far. I didn't realize it was Northeast, where I was thinking more North Central.
I'm like Macon when we have the pull at Macon.
Yeah.
I mean, Macon's where we buy our groceries. I'm essentially from Macon, Missouri. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for tuning in. All the folks that commented and had questions. Thank you so much for being part of our audience here. Huge thanks to Case IH, our title sponsor. I want to start bringing our sponsors up a little more on the shows throughout the season, but we'll go ahead or in the off season as well. But we'll end the show here by playing some video. I did have some George Beyer video up on here, but this platform is also used by some other folks with Beer Money Pulling Team. And some of my stuff got deleted off here, as well as my background. I noticed that when I first came on was my Outlaw background was gone. So
I knew something was different. I couldn't put my finger on it. That's what it was.
Huge thanks to Organics Midwest. Great folks there. They've helped a lot of promoters out in 23, and it looks like it's going to be another great season with them. Frank Mabry, how did you get rid of Jason Schultz? Is what Frank's. How do I get rid of Jason Schultz? I don't know. He likes to be where the action's at, Frank. So, yeah, you know what? I might as well just go ahead. I don't want to mention all of our sponsors because I may forget one. I don't have my list in front of me. Let's see how good I do. I'm going to go ahead and try it. What the heck? You got Case IH. You got Organics Midwest. You got Titan Tire, maker of Goodyear Farm tires. You got Schaefer's Oil. You've got DeKalb Seed. You got Coltrane Energy. Mike, who else am I forgetting here?
VP Racing Fuel.
Racing Fuels.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of class sponsors.
Yeah. Parts and No Way Man Diesel. And
No Way Man Diesel Performance. You got Nature's Brand Liquid Fertilizer. You got Diesel Performance Engineering.
Belts. Who's the belts?
Yep. Frosted Frog Coolers and Tumblers. Off-Road Belts.
Yeah.
Wow. This is testing my memory here. You'd think I'd know them all by heart, reading those off all season long.
I want to know, how many of the scripts do you have memorized? If I give you a sponsor, are you going to be able to, of the little, the book that you've got all your stuff in, how many of those can you recite? Here we are, maybe a month and a half. Can you do the Case IH one?
Case IH,
That's
close,
one,
but there's multiple scripts from Case IH, and they actually change it mid-season, so it's a lot to remember. The one that sticks with me for some reason, and I think it's because it was pretty much the same script that we used when I announced for Missouri State for several years, was Stop Fire Extinguishers. Stop Fire Extinguishers, the world's greatest fire extinguisher. Stop Fire is a proprietary blend of liquefied fire suppression gases and not only puts out the fire, but also prevents reignition with zero mess. 100% guaranteed, made right here in North America. You can get your very own Stop Fire extinguisher at ake.com. I don't know why, but
so there's that the show tonight. Stop Fire is over here just hitting all sorts of the like buttons on the show. How long does the season go on before, when you're starting to read off those, you're looking away because you've got them memorized?
That one for sure. I know that one by heart. Some of them are a little easier for me to read. I've just read them so many times that, I can look away. I don't have to, read it line by line. But for some reason, that Stop Fire one, it's just been fit in my head. So that one's an easy one to do, but don't ask me why I remember it, but it's in there. It's stuck in there. So Mike, thanks so much for coming on. Thank you to all the Outlaw sponsors and all the folks that make the Outlaws great here in Outlaw Nation. And thank you, Mike. Thanks, Jason Schultz. Thank you, Kurt Van Beek. And thank you, Case IH. And all you great fans of the Outlaws, thanks for tuning in tonight. Join us next week. Next Tuesday, we'll be live at 7 p.m. Outlawed Live. Good night.
Bennett knows the Chrysler family very well. They pulled Chevrolet four-wheel drives forever in the state of Missouri and all over the Midwest and with the Outlaws and several organizations. This one has a big block Ford in it, Dave, and I know you love that, but look at the name on the truck, and that's why they named it this, is because they are running a big block Ford.
All right, now you want to keep an eye on this run. This guy has got a lock on the rock if he can do halfway good. This guy can get a lock on the rock if he can do halfway good. You heard the story that Ron was telling you about the black sheep of the family, Warsaw, Missouri. Not a very good 150 foot, but the last 150 foot was awesome.
They're a proud sponsor of the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Association. DeKalb brand, never settle. Check them out at DeKalb.com. Next puller on the two-wheel drive side, David Jeems out of Warsaw, Missouri, the black sheep of the family. Big block Ford coming off a win last night in Concord, Nebraska. Ford, where's the Ford people at? Chevrolet, everything Chevrolet. They've pulled for years. Everything's always been Chevrolet powered until this machine. They're running a big block Ford, 2 carburetors on it, with a big EX514 cast iron cylinder head, an aftermarket big block Ford cylinder head. Calls it the black sheep of the family, the only Ford in the family. Pretty stout runner down there in central Missouri, down there with the Missouri State Tractor Pullers Association. Oh, where's my Ford people at? Ford people make some noise.